What was the cringiest thing you did in your first relationship? Made an account just so I could finally tell this cringe-worthy story. High school girlfriend and I used to make out on her bed with the door locked while her parents were out there under the impression we are studying. Heavy kissing, and at some point she says, "Cut that out. Your breath stinks." Start kissing her neck and she slowly wraps her legs around my thigh. Couple minutes later starts breathing heavily. Couple minutes after that her legs tighten around my thigh. Couple minutes after that she suddenly goes rigid. Eyes roll up till I see whites. Rapid breathing. Exhaling heavily. I panic. And this is my retarded thought process. Since all the blood's left my brain, she's choking. I should give her CPR. But she said no kissing her mouth. So I close my lips around her nose and blow it like a trumpet. She starts coughing immediately, but she's too polite to cuss me out. Says she needs a drink of water and leaves the room. We continued to go out for 6 years after that. TLDR. Didn't realize GF was having an orgasm. Thought she was dying. Tried to save her by blowing sewer breath straight into her nose. I'm a moron. Ugh, I almost completely erased this memory. So I was young and I had my first boyfriend. We were experimenting sexually and I really wanted him to think my pussy tasted nice. So I would literally rub strawberry ducking flavored lip gloss in my vagina. There's no way he didn't know. I thought it was such genius idea that I had to share it with my fellow women. So I wrote it down and passed a note in class to one of my friends. It dropped on the floor and all the boys read it and screamed laughing. Strawberry Lips was my new name and I cried for a week. This was with a girl I dated in high school. My dad was getting drunk at a block party, so I got the idea to take his ski boat and go for a romantic boat ride. So we park in the middle of the lake, start making out and stuff. We notice our feet getting wet. The boat was sinking, so I start freaking out, bailing water out with cups, sopping it up with my shirt and wringing it out of the boat, just ducking, panicking. Right after I accept the fate of my dad's $12,000 inboard motor ski boat and calm down, I remember that I didn't put back the drain plug before dropping it in the water, so I replaced it, drove back. TLDR. Tried to be cool, get laid with a boat ride, almost sank it. Started dating 3 months before sophomore year ended. Once summer started I completely ghosted her. Skipped the first week of junior year. I thought we were still together. You can imagine how she reacted when I approached her for a kiss. The shame is still real to this day. Told my first real GF that I'm glad she wasn't the most beautiful girl in the world, so I didn't have to worry about every guy trying to steal her. The letters I've wrote. Oh, those letters. 15-year-old Meath Putty was deep and romantic. He wasn't. I hope they don't exist anymore. She started to ignore me at school. This was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks after we started dating. I called her house like 6 or 7 times one afternoon after school until her mom picked up, who was basically furious because I had been calling. I explained to her that Alexa was ignoring my calls. I hear in the background, "Alexa, why aren't you answering the phone?" Question mark. To which she responds, "Because he's weird and he just keeps calling." Exclamation mark. Apostrophe. I hung up the phone and went to my room. I carved her name in my wall with a pen. I still cringe about it to this day. Oof. Well, if it makes you feel any better, you weren't the lone name carver. I had a boyfriend in school who carved my name into his wall and then bragged about it because he thought it would impress me. So at least in terms of people who have carved names into walls, you were probably less cringy than that guy. Was walking her home anticipating kissing her for the first time at her doorstep and kept licking my lips because I didn't want to kiss her with a dry mouth. Halfway to her house she looks at me and says, "Stop doing that." I realized I probably looked really creepy. Broke up with her because my best friend told me to. We were perfectly fine together, but I guess I kinda worshipped the guy and his advice. He later tried asking her out when we split. We were all 14 to 15. Ugh, I had honestly forgotten this until I read this question. First date to a movie. We see Titanic. Because that can only end well. We as horny youngsters aren't watching the movie, but instead making out and moaning in probably the third row of a packed theater. I'd never made out before. I assumed moaning was involved. Ugh, so cringy and gross. My first kiss was in the movies at the Bounty Hunter. It was interesting because I also got my first blowjob a few minutes later in the same spot. I remember 4 things. 1. My parents and her parents were 2 rows in front of us. 2. The looks of disgust on the old couple's faces 4 seats down. 3. She swallowed and it was way too much sensation for 16-year-old me. 3. Jared Butler was in it. Declined staying the night because I was, and I quote, wearing a skirt and didn't want it to ride up while I was sleeping. I licked her face to be random. God, that hurt to reimagine. Please don't mention hybridized eating utensils. Close bracket. He took me to Olive Garden and bought me that meat lovers lasagna. I'm pretty damn sure that's what it was / is called, and when we got back to his place I wanted to show him how appreciative I was, so I gave him my first blowjob. Turned out I was not ready for that job and threw up the entire lasagna on his penis. God help me, I can't believe I'm finally sharing this story. After I saw Eric propose to Donna on that 70s show, I went out and got a 25 ring from the local Pizza Hut and proposed at school in front of everyone. I was 16. Edit. I'm glad you all could share a cringe with me. To answer the burning question, she did say yes. We didn't last. Sorry, no happy ending here. Just teenagers doing impulsive things. Tried to defend her honor. I got the shit kicked out of me by 3 guys. I earned cred for taking a beating, but she thought we should just be friends after witnessing that. We took a break and I posted a video to Creep by Radiohead with the caption for that special someone. I almost cringed off my chair writing this. I was 17. We had just had a fight. I drove to his house and blasted Scars Bite Papa Roach from my car and just stood awkwardly at the end of the driveway waiting for him to come out. I really wish this weren't true. Edit. Added context. I'll let him finger me at school with no idea the people at the next table could see. Told her I loved her within the first 24 hours at the school parking lot. Well, she said that she thought we would be better off just being friends, so I decided that I needed to do some big grand gesture to prove my love. It always worked in the movies, so what could go wrong? I practiced singing the song for weeks on my ukulele and figured that I would wait until after her softball practice was done and surprise her. I sang You're Beautiful by James Blunt. It's a ducking miracle anyone talked to me after that. Edit. Getting a lot of questions, so I'll try my best to answer most of them and keep it short. I wasn't a terrible singer, but I wasn't good. It didn't help that I added intentional breaks in my voice to make the song more emotionally powerful or something dumb like that. After I was done and stood in horror as her friends laughed at me and she stormed away, I kind of did a sad George Michael-esque walk in the rain to my car as I contemplated what would be easier, moving school districts or just driving off a cliff. We were not friends after that. It was super embarrassing for her and everyone teased her for months by signing James Blunt songs to her. I definitely had it worse, but high school kids are dicks. It also didn't help that about 2 weeks after we were assigned as lab partners and she raised her hand and asked the teacher if she could switch partners and the whole class snickered. It seemed sweet reading the story, but really it was super creepy and I put her in an impossible spot. If anything positive came from it, I never had any troubles approaching women at bars, etc. because I already knew what the worst possible thing that could happen was, so it was only uphill from there. Poor soul. Did it work? Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.